Hi there, welcome back to the Community of Readers video blog. We're following the Old Testament readings for the Monkey Bar Challenge, and this week we're looking at the book of Ezra. This is called Paranoid Religion. Well, Ezra is the penultimate book of our reading year, and it's here after 6 months. We pick up the narrative that began wending its way in Genesis in January and then left us in July. We read then of first Israel and then Judah's exiles. After poems and prophecies and politics, we're now back in explicit priestly detail to experience finally the account of the return from exile and the rebuilding of Jerusalem. Ezra is a really significant figure, a big influence on the newly resettled community in Judea. His uncompromising stand on religious purity is one that would have a big impact on Jewish faith right into the time of Jesus. Back in August, we noted how Chronicles, the history of the monarchy that was written after the exile, was most concerned with who was following Torah, the law of Moses. That, according to that national editor, was how you could tell who was part of the people of God. And Ezra has very similar concerns. In fact, some people have said that actually the same author is responsible for both works. It's who keeps the law of Moses. They are the people of God. That's what matters to Ezra. And his work is one of a blistering exclusivity. There is nothing even vaguely generous about Ezra's writing. He shows no understanding of any kind towards Judea's neighbours. They offer to help rebuilding the temple, and Zerubbabel in chapter 4 sends them away. And then Ezra's own personal contribution is to force every Israelite man who has married a non-Israelite woman to send away their wives and any children they might have away into the desert, out of sight, out of the community, into an almost certain desperate poverty. This kind of racism seems almost incomprehensible to us. How can Israel be described as the holy seed in chapter 9 verse 2 and yet tear families apart in the name of religious purity? Without twisting the text, there is no way that we can make Ezra something that is easy to stomach. But I think that it's precisely this distaste that opens up a window, a door into Ezra's world and allows us to begin to understand some of his concerns. Because we've read the history, we know the narrative. We've read the prophets' commentary, first on the monarchy and then through prophets like Ezekiel on the exile. And we've seen the complex political hodgepodge that exists in the newly resettled Persian province of Yehud, what was later Judea. We've read that through Malachi and Haggai and Zechariah. The fact is, Ezra's scared. He's scared of losing the first chance in 100 years for some kind of self-rule. And that fear leads him to do unconscionable things. His focus on the law of Moses and his understanding of Israel's history leads him to seek out malpractice wherever it can be found, and cooks up this zealous religion and a painful paranoia that is willing to kick off at the slightest provocation. The fear is evident in Ezra's, in the climax of the story, really, which is Ezra's prayer in chapter 9. He's embarrassed as he appeals to Yahweh. He's apologetic that Israel would treat with such contempt the mercy that Yahweh has shown. And people are sought out to blame, and predictably, sadly, it is the most vulnerable members of the community, the foreign women and children, who are made scapegoat in the cause of Ezra's paranoia. They are the ones that suffer so that Israel can be kept pure. Fear is extremely powerful. It can drive good people to do very evil things. And fear shapes this story. Never is fear more powerful than in religious communities, where commitment to doctrine is so prized and the preservation of the faith matters above all else. Having reached the last chapters of this year-long journey, we are simply forced to sit down and take stock of our own convictions. If an epic story like this could lead us to this point, then where will our journey take us if it continues unchecked? Does our commitment to Scripture, to the church, to Christian doctrine, even to God, matter more than caring for the widow and the orphan? If it does, says Jesus and Paul and Peter and James and John, then we have lost our way.